If you're a 3D animator, you know the word rigging can mean hours, sometimes even days, of really tedious setup before you even get to the fun part. But what if you could just skip that step entirely? Well, that's the big promise behind a tool called MotionMuse, and it's a promise so bold, it's definitely getting some serious attention.
I mean, this is the kind of reaction you see when a tool doesn't just tweak a workflow, it tries to completely upend the whole process. One user on Steam put it perfectly. This is the kind of innovation we need in animation. Now that is a huge claim. So let's dig in and see what's really fueling all this excitement.
So, what's the big deal? What problem is this actually trying to solve? Well, for a ton of creators, especially indie devs or people on a tight deadline, that whole technical hurdle of rigging can just absolutely kill your creative momentum. MotionMuse basically claims it can tear that wall down. But can it really deliver on that promise?
Okay, so let's talk about this core promise. Imagine you've got your 3D model and you want to start animating it, like right now. No spending hours or even days setting up all the bones and controls and constraints. The whole idea of just skipping that entire technical headache, yeah, that's the dream that MotionMuse is selling.
So instead of building this complex puppet-like rig on top of your character's skeleton, MotionMuse just lets you pose the skeleton directly. It's a pretty fundamental shift, and it's designed for one thing above all else: speed. The whole goal here is to drastically shorten that time between having a model and actually seeing it move.
But a tool that puts speed above everything else isn't going to be for everyone. It's really built for a specific kind of creator. So who exactly is the ideal person for this kind of rig-free workflow?
And the developers are super clear about this. This is for creators who can't afford a dedicated rigging artist or don't have a massive production pipeline. Think about an indie developer who needs to prototype, a dozen different attack animations quickly, or a freelancer who's just blocking out a scene to get client approval. It is all about rapid iteration.
All right, so we know the what and the who. Now let's get to the how. What are the actual features that make this whole rig-free promise even possible? Let's take a look inside the toolbox.
Okay, this right here, this is the killer feature. This is the one that gets everybody talking. It's called spline sketching, and it's basically an animation paintbrush. Instead of messing around with dozens of little controllers, you just draw a path on the screen and the character's hand or foot, it just follows it instantly. It's an incredibly intuitive, artist-first way to think about motion.
But it's not just a one-trick pony. It's got the essentials you need for a real prototyping tool. You've got retargeting to move animations between different characters, a fast IK solver for quick posing, and even a full curve editor for when you really need to get in there and fine-tune things. And, most importantly, it exports to standard game engine formats, so your work isn't just trapped inside the app.
Okay, hold on. This is a really, really important clarification. When they say no rigging, they mean you don't have to create animation controls. It does not mean your character can just be a solid block of polygons. Your model absolutely must already have a skeleton, bones, inside of it. This is a tool for animating, not for setting up a character from scratch.
So the features, they look great on paper. The whole promise is incredibly exciting. But this is where we hit the big reality check. What actually happens when animators try to use this thing on real projects? Well, the community feedback, it reveals a pretty crucial catch.
It turns out there's a huge divide in the user experience. For short, little, isolated animations, users say it's an absolute dream. But the second you try to work on longer animation sequences, that dream becomes a total nightmare. We're talking about the software grinding to a halt. People have reported load times of up to an hour for a single animation file, which is just a complete workflow killer.
And honestly, this one quote from a Steam review just sums it all up perfectly. It's direct, it's clear, and it sets a very, very firm boundary on what you should expect from this tool. It is a specialized instrument. It is not a do-it-all solution. So, where does that leave us? We have this incredible innovation on one side and some really serious limitations on the other. That brings us to the final, most important question. Should you actually use this tool? Let's weigh all the evidence.
First up, let's talk about the price. It's already pretty affordable, and with sales sometimes hitting 30% off, it's not a huge financial risk. And this is key, right? It's priced like a specialized tool, not some massive software suite, which, honestly, perfectly matches what it's good for.
And here's maybe the best part. Because it's on Steam, you can pretty much test it for free. You can just buy it, throw your own character files at it, and really see how it performs for you. If it's too slow or just doesn't fit your workflow, you can get a full refund as long as you've used it for less than 2 hours. It's a completely risk-free way to find out for yourself.
So here it is, the final verdict. MotionMuse seems to be the perfect tool for short, self-contained animation cycles. Think about things like attack, idle, and jump animations for a game. If you're prototyping ideas, or you just need to get motion into a game engine quickly and cheaply, it sounds brilliant. The secret is to treat it like a scalpel, not a Swiss Army knife.
And you know, this all leads to a much bigger idea. MotionMuse isn't trying to be the next Maya or Blender. It's not trying to do everything. It's a small tool built around one single, powerful concept. It really makes you wonder, in a world full of bloated all-in-one software, just how valuable is a simple, focused tool that does one thing brilliantly, even with all its flaws?